Hello. Today I'll be speaking on what it is to be a good pastor. This is the first in the series. I'm going to do an overview right now and tell you that I'm going to be real. I'm not going by a script. I'm just going to tell you what is a good pastor, who is a good pastor. Now, anybody can be a pastor, because a pastor is no more than uh, one of the congregation. He's just the one that was chose to lead the church, to give the church what it needs as far as sermons and counseling and yada yada yada. That's what a pastor is, and that's what a pastor does. Now, a lot of the churches out there depend on the pastor's name, depend on his message, depends on his sermon, depends on his knowledge of the Bible, depends on his people skills, empathy, everything. That's got to be rolled into one person is who the church will pick to lead the sermons and talk about God's word. A pastor has to be God loving, God fearing, very knowledgeable in his word, God's word. He has to have the ability to speak to people, to own what he says. He has to be a very good person that knows how to reach out and touch people's hearts as he speaks the word. Now, this takes a special person. I told you that pastors ain't no more than one of the congregation, but they have to know how to speak well in front of people and won't deny the people the truth about the Bible, about God, about Jesus, about the Trinity, about Moses, about Job, about anyone in the Bible. He has that faith that God exists. God exists. That's what faith is. He's got to love God. You can't get up and be a pastor and not know anything about God, or not loving God, or not understanding the truth uh, that God is alive. You have to have all that packed into that package in order to deliver a sermon that will break the hearts of the congregation, that will let Jesus into their hearts by saying and following his words. Now, a pastor is he has to be the leader. He has to own it. And he has to believe in God. And he has to understand what his church needs at the time. Because there's no message that's going to hit everyone in the church. That's why we have service weekly, because we talk about several things in the Bible, passages, verses, books. So everybody could be hit by the word. You got to reach out to everyone. You got to talk to your congregation. You got to ask what the congregation wants and wants you to speak about it. And once you speak about it, you have to speak the truth in his word. That's why I've developed a series that I'm going to entitle Being a Good Pastor. Because we're all different, all pastors are different. But see, there's one thing tying all pastors together, and that's the Bible. So I'm going to start off slow and develop the message that a pastor should bring. A pastor should not stand up there and allow his congregation to go to sleep. He can't bore them. He can't say the same message every week. He has to develop a game plan that would keep the people together. Now, pastors, some pastors, they talk about, say, a book in their sermon. Some pastors go from book to book to book to book, and just talk about different verses that are connected. And some pastors wing it. And of course, some pastors let God talk through them. And I think that the last one is the optimal weapon. Let God talk through you. You know, a good pastor gets done with his sermon and has no idea what he said. Doesn't have a long list of notes. He may have notes on a tablet, computer, paper that only highlights several different things he wants to talk about. And of course, he wants to say passages, verses throughout his sermon. Because without the direct words from the Bible, it's hard for people to recognize that you are telling the truth because none of the words are coming from the Bible. So how can it be? But you know, there's some pastors like me who don't give a lot of verses, but everything I say can be backed by verses in the Bible. I tell my congregation to go on, look at the verses and see if I'm telling God's truth. Being a good pastor is let everybody know that you're no better than them. Thank you for choosing me to lead your sermons. And that's what a good pastor does. He listens, he has empathy, he has counseling experience, he delves into the Bible. People listen. And you know, a few things that a pastor needs to do is have a voice that changes pitch, quality, emotion, and that keeps people awake. Just like when you do advertise or something in on the internet, you produce an avatar that moves its lips. You pick captions that highlight what the avatar is saying. You keep people involved. And that's what a pastor has to do. Not stand up there for 45 minutes with a monotone voice, speaking to the congregation, half of them falling asleep. No, you have to develop a way to keep the congregation coming back, staying awake, and understanding what you're saying. You know, science plays a part in some things. And this thing is you gotta keep people awake. Monotone voices do not keep people awake. If you don't emphasize, if you don't get emotional, it will not keep people awake. An adult only stays in concentration for 20 minutes and then he will lose what you are saying per science. Now, you have to understand that. So you can go in a change of direction, a change of tone, a change of emotion, but you do that up and down, all through your sermon. And that's one thing that makes you a good pastor. And that's why my series will develop all these ideas, all these things that keep a pastor up on and behind the pew. And that's what makes a good pastor. There's so many things I have to talk about, so many things I have to develop throughout this series. And I'm looking forward to you tuning in and listening to the other sermons in my series. And God bless and have a wonderful day.